Let's be real for a second. The hardest truth most people have trouble accepting is this. If you let yourself stay in places where you're not appreciated, you're teaching the world how little you appreciate yourself. I know that might sting, but it's the truth you need to hear. You see, people will always treat you based on the rules you set for yourself. If you allow constant disrespect, if you stay quiet when your efforts go unnoticed, if you keep giving your time and energy to people who don't appreciate it, then you are quietly saying, "This is okay. I accept this." And that is not okay. That's you giving up on yourself. Your self-worth is not something that just appears when the right person comes along or when life finally gets easier. It's something you decide on. It's a line you draw and say, "This is how I expect to be treated. And if you can't meet me there, you don't get access to me." Because here's the truth. The way you value yourself sets the standard for every single relationship in your life. Whether it's friends, family, coworkers, or a partner, people are watching. They're paying attention to how you act, how you talk about yourself, and how you let others treat you. And if you're willing to settle for being undervalued, don't be surprised when people give you less than you deserve. Now, let me tell you something important. Being alone is not the enemy. I know for many people, the idea of walking away from relationships, friendships, or places where they're not appreciated feels scary. You're scared of the quiet. You're scared of what people will think. You're scared of feeling lonely. But let's be clear about something. Being alone and being lonely are not the same thing. Loneliness is what you feel when you've given up on yourself. When you've told yourself that your worth depends on other people's approval. Being alone, on the other hand, can be one of the most powerful experiences you'll ever have. Think about it this way. When you spend time alone, you make space to get back in touch with yourself. You get to ask questions like, what do I actually want? What do I need right now? What kind of people do I want around me? Those are questions you can't hear the answers to when you're stuck in noise, when you're always trying to please others, or when you're caught in a cycle of feeling undervalued. Time alone is where you find clarity. It's where you reset your limits and remind yourself that you are not here to be tolerated. You are here to be valued. And here's something most people don't realize. Staying in connections where you are not valued is not a small thing. It's not just, "Oh, it's not that bad." It is draining you. It wears away at your confidence little by little. It messes with your ability to focus. It affects your mood, your creativity, even your health. Because the constant stress from bad or uncaring relationships shows up in your body. That's why it's not selfish to ask to be valued. It's needed for your well-being. You cannot build a good life while constantly trying to get small bits of appreciation from people who don't even see your worth. This is why limits are not about pushing people away. They are about protecting your energy. Walking away from those who don't value you isn't rejection, it's protection. It's you saying, "I matter. My peace matters. My growth matters." And every time you stick to that limit, you strengthen your self-respect. You stop chasing and start attracting. Because here's the secret. The moment you stop putting up with being undervalued, the wrong people will leave your life and the right ones will finally have a chance to enter. When you choose to be alone instead of being undervalued, you are choosing growth. History proves this again and again. Some of the greatest discoveries, the most powerful changes have come from periods of being alone. People find their vision, their purpose, their power, not when they're surrounded by noise, but when they have the guts to sit with themselves. That's where you make a new you. That's where strength is built. That's where you realize you don't need approval from everyone else because the only approval that actually matters is the one you give yourself. So, if you've been struggling with the fear of being alone, I want you to look at it in a new way. Alone doesn't mean abandoned. Alone means available. Available for growth, for healing, for opportunities, for relationships that actually honor your worth. And the next time you're faced with a choice between staying in a situation where you're not valued and walking into the unknown of being on your own, I want you to remember this. It is always better to be alone than to make yourself smaller for people who don't see your worth. Because the moment you start valuing yourself, you set the standard for how the world treats you. And that is the most powerful change you can ever make. Most people mix up being alone with being lonely. And that mistake keeps them stuck in relationships, jobs, and friendships where they're not valued. Let's be clear. Loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Loneliness is the deep feeling of being disconnected, the empty feeling that no one understands you, the belief that you're invisible or forgotten. Solitude, on the other hand, is powerful. It's on purpose. It's the decision to step away from the noise so you can connect with yourself again. And if you want to live a life where you are respected, valued, and truly at peace, you have to stop running from time alone and start embracing it. Think about it. Loneliness is not about not having people. It's about not having a real connection. You can be surrounded by friends, coworkers, or even family and still feel completely alone. That's because loneliness isn't fixed by having more people around you. It's fixed by having the right people around you, and by first having the courage to value your own company. If you don't enjoy being with yourself, if you don't respect your own presence, then you'll always be chasing approval from outside of you. And that chase will keep you in situations where you accept being undervalued because you're terrified of being by yourself. Solitude, on the other hand, is a choice. It's you saying, I'm going to spend time alone, not because no one wants me, but because I want to. Solitude is where you get your energy back. It's where you give yourself the space to hear your own voice again. When was the last time you sat in silence and asked yourself, what do I need right now? What dreams have I been ignoring? What's draining me that I need to walk away from? Those answers don't show up in a crowded room. They show up in the quiet when it's just you and your thoughts. That's why time alone is not something to fear. It's something to practice. And here's the thing. Solitude is where confidence is built. Because confidence isn't about having the approval of others. It's about knowing you can stand on your own. If you're afraid of being alone, it means you've built your sense of worth on other people's approval. That's shaky ground because people are not consistent. One day they praise you, the next day they criticize you. One moment they value you, the next they forget about you. But when you learn to stand strong in solitude, when you learn to enjoy your own presence, you realize you don't fall apart when others don't show up for you. That's the kind of strength that changes your entire life.